recently I decided to ask out this guy who I'd always really fancied, and on the date, the guy looked fit, but he was dressed so fucking badly. He had on a fedora and open-toe leather sandals. So I had sex with him. And then, after I had sex with this guy, I caught the worst thing you can catch from sex with a man, which is, of course, feelings. It's feelings. I genuinely started to like a guy who wore a Hawaiian shirt non-ironically and non-neurodivergently, and I was like, why does that happen? Why do I fuck a guy and then have to start to like them? So I went online, and the internet said, when you have sex with someone, your body releases oxytocin, the emotional bonding hormone, every time you have an orgasm. And I was like, well, it can't be that then. You're not bad at sex. No, you're great. You always win. But it really
Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Hello. Thank you very much for coming on this podcast. In the room, Davina Bentley. How was the gig that you just did downstairs?
I really enjoyed it. Thank you for having me. Such a nice room.
Yeah. What did you enjoy about it? What was the...
Tom Elwes broke the back of it.
Yeah.
Very kind of him. Love Tom. MC is it Sergey? Sergey. I've said his name wrong. I mean, even though a bit of my brain went, I saw him come up.
Sergey sounds great though.
Is it Sergey?
It's Sergey, but it's like Sergey.
I call him Sergey. Yeah. I've made him Slavic, but so he's a brilliant MC. The room was really good. All the things that I'm not good at thinking about, like the lighting, and it had that thing of I like to find, I think, a couple of girls or a girl, because my stuff's quite girly. It's for women. So I tend to find a couple of girls who are kind of on board, and I found them quite quickly. Hi, my name is Davina. I am 37 years old. And I did, yes, whoop, 37 years old, and I don't have any children. And that's absolutely fine. Yes, because a lot of women don't want to have children, and we shouldn't shame them for it. Yeah! Yes! Women like my mother. So... There was two girls in the front row. Yeah. But then I couldn't give them too much attention, because they were whooping a lot, so that it derailed it. So then you have to take the attention away. Like a naughty child, and then kind of find some other friends. Yeah. And then they can be boys, those friends. They can be.
They can be boys.
They can be, they're allowed to be. But generally I find like safe anchors in the girls.
And what was the last gig you did? Was it massively different, or was it
2 days ago? It's Wednesday today. I think I did a gig on Monday night. That was Chortle. I've been gigging quite a lot. Yeah. It was something.
There was just for comparison, because it's always the last gig you did always kind of sets the bar, the anchoring point for the last one. But
no, because I try really hard not to. I try and do that. Is it Sarah Milligan's rule?
Let it go.
I try to do that at 11 o'clock, and same for good and bad. Yeah. But also, I'm so like ADHD object. If it's in front of me, I don't. You know the thing I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So the fact if the last gig was a stonker, like brilliant, or the last gig was a bomb, actually doesn't impact me that much.
Yeah. I have the same thing. It's just like, well, it's gone now. It's in the past. It doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. I don't remember it. And then people would be like, oh, I saw you and it was here. I was like,
yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah, that happened.
That was a week ago. It happened. Who knew? Not me.
Yeah.
So that is fine.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned the ADHD thing, because as somebody as well that I think, like, I MC a lot, so it's a big part of why I think I work quite well as an MC, because I'm very in the moment. But you did something right at the beginning of your set that I thought was, I wondered whether it was, when it might not have anything to do with ADHD, but you referred back to something that Tom had said. And I wondered whether, about Mother, you referenced, what was it? 37 years old and not being pregnant. Yeah. And because he'd mentioned pregnancy, were you always going to open with that, or did you choose in that moment because it was appropriate? Opener. It is always. So it's just coincident. I thought maybe like you just kind of gone, right, that's the way to.
What was new and what was the fun thing, which I've never done before. I'd never done the height stuff, and I wrote it in like the first like few weeks of doing stand-up years ago. I'll tell you this. So look, people sometimes ask me, how did you get into stand-up? And the story is, I got into stand-up many years ago, we're in a relationship, my boyfriend of 8 years and it ended. And at the same time, my dad died. It was a really bad weekend. And yeah, but I will never criticise that guy who broke up with me after 8 years. I will never criticise him. Because for every single day of our relationship, for every day of those 8 years, he was always 6'5". Even on...
Nice.
So I was really
So that was
pleased.
brand new?
Or brand old. Brand old.
It
was sort of something I would joke about with another comic who was a really experienced comic, and we'd like done some sessions together, and I'd always make that joke, and it's a joke that plays in my head.
Yeah.
And then I saw a stand-up do a thing recently. It was different, but it was also like around height, and I was like, oh, I prefer my joke. I should try that joke. And I was so pleased it worked today. I need to find an ending.
The opening line of like, he's always been 6'5". No matter how bad he was, every single day he's been 6'5". That's such a good line. So that's brand new. Because that popped in the room beautifully. Like,
Thank
it's
you.
like, yeah.
And also it's such a good way of like, without being pretentious, I'm going to be pretentious, fuck it. I was listening to a podcast today, and it was translated from Arabic into English, and the interpreters, obviously it was The Rest is Politics because there's only 2 podcasts, and but they said what was interesting was the 2 interpreters of this interview said what's important is what's not being said, not what is said by a Syrian leader. And so I think that's a good joke, because when I started comedy, coming out of this like sort of de facto divorce, I'd be like, oh, this horrific thing's happened to me, I've come out of a divorce and yada yada, and I was with a dude for 8 years and I went tits up, but just being like he was always 6'5" is like everything you need to know.
Yeah.
It's great. It's a really good joke, actually.
And but it's also, I think, one of the things that I think really pops for it is because it's very you, like it's an attitude. So it's true of your attitude. Like there's quite a few jokes that you got on stage that really pop when nobody else could make it pop that because you're showing your attitude and then saying something that confirms what people already know about you.
You're right. Like, thinking of other female comics I'm friends with, like Freya Mallard wouldn't suit. Maybe Karen Hobbs could do it. Yeah. She also likes tall, fit boys, but it doesn't even, like, she's not probably an arsehole enough. Yeah, like it's persona appropriate, which I like. Go on.
No, go on.
I was going to say what's really hard. I'm periody, so a pinch of salt. What is hard at the moment is because I'm 41 and like how I look has changed and is changing. Lots of the jokes I will need to change, and I do need to change as appropriate. And like some of my friends do brilliant jokes about Botox. There's a comedian, Vic Blunt, who does, I've done all the work, not inside the outside. It's like best joke. As soon as I heard that I was like, fuck. But like, great, I love jokes about Botox. Gilly, is it Gilly Apter? I've forgotten her name.
Yeah, Gilly Apter.
She's brilliant, love her. She does such good stuff.
South African comedian.
South African, love her. Yemenite, adore. But that I get, but I can't do those jokes. So I need to like, there's other stuff about being like pretty that has to be worked either out or fucked with.
So it's changing because you're older. Yeah. But when you say about being pretty, so it's stuff where if you're younger, you're angling your stuff because you know you're pretty and you can talk about it, whereas you feel that's disingenuous.
It doesn't work as well. Like it doesn't work it works when you're 34, you look maybe 32. It works. Yeah. It just doesn't work. And I'd also rather start to go into a persona of like the comics, the American comics in their 40s who I love, who are higher status, who are much more like, I'm not in, like, it's basically leaning away from that. Yeah. As much as I love a kind of Cat Cohen, like, oh my God, I'm a model, like leaning well away from that and into another thing. Yeah. But I've got to like sort of work on that.
That's really interesting. So, I mean, how much so you're somebody that on stage, I think persona wise, people get quite quickly who you are. That you can make, I think it's the best thing. It's like when you see Mickey Flanagan on stage, you can make a lot of assumptions about who he is. Not in like a cartoon kind of way. You're just like, I get this guy. Yeah. Or, and I think a lot of the best comedians are like that. So when you're on stage, your persona is very kind of not caustic, but self-aware and kind of cynically self-aware and cynically outward as well. Yeah. And kind of playfully so. But I would say it's interesting because how much do you think through that? Because right there, you're kind of, again, fitting it, going, oh, I'm going to have to change that, or...
Yeah, it's not... I'm really bad at that. I'm bad at pulling back and being like, what's the persona? What's the overarching? Obviously, you can see it for other people, especially friends. So it's really helpful when friends who are comics are like, oh, I really like that you're being more acidic, and I like that you're being... Because I really easily go towards nasty, but I can get too nasty. I often wish I could be as nasty as men are on stage. Once I saw one of my favourite comics call someone in the front row fuckface, and I loved it, and everyone laughed. Recently, I said to a guy in the front, I said, oh, okay, I came late to the gig, and normally I come early so I can see everything. I came in the interval, got on stage, opened second half, and I went, okay, guys, I'm catching up. You two together, wife or daughter? I don't think that's unreasonable. They've got a big age gap.
Yeah.
And the guy was like, not fucking having it.
Yeah.
And then he sort of shouted out, well, she's got 2 kids, she looks better than you. And I was like, I was rattled.
Yeah,
and I was like, firstly, and I didn't say it very smoothly, I was like, I was criticising you, not her.
Yeah.
To be clear.
Yeah.
And secondly, you're clearly exactly the same age. I'm so sorry because you seem very chill. But the whole room was like on his side. Like I kept going for him, and a guy next to him went, oh, you're fucked, mate. Yeah. And that's what's annoying is like, why can't you be on my side? Why can't we just laugh that his girlfriend's 20 years younger? Are we not?
Yeah.
Why can't we just make a joke that it could be his daughter or wife? Is that... And I kind of really doubted myself. So I just wish I could be more... Not maybe I come across a lot nastier than I think I do. It might be that.
I see. It's interesting though, because I also suffer from extrapolation of a moment.
Yeah.
But because we've only got that data to do it. Like I've noticed for myself on stage that I can say, "Hey, fuckface," playfully to a guy. I can't be in any way derogatory to, or like I couldn't say fuckface to a girl. People wouldn't like that. And interestingly, when I grew this massive beard during lockdown.
Yeah, I remember.
And I couldn't say "Hey, fuckface" with a beard.
Yeah, because it looks too aggy, and also because you've got kind of baby face. Like Lucas could probably tell us.
Yeah.
Lucas, because he
not
looks
threatening,
4.5.
it's lower status.
Yeah.
But I think it's because you're high status. There's that element of status of because you own yourself. You know.
But I hate that. So that guy. I did a thing, I never normally do stories online, and I was like, hi, internet, I'm very torn, I'm not sure, because I was aggy to say, is that your daughter? That is a startle pistol in some senses, and I kind of crowdsourced people's thoughts on it, and people, mostly women, said very helpful, interesting things. And what was interesting was, sorry, I've completely lost my thread, I'm so period brainy. What it was... Oh, bollocks. It was the sort of doubting myself.
The status thing.
The state, exactly. Oh, that was it. So when the bloke found me very stupidly, he sent me Aggie messages.
Really?
Such a fool. Yeah. He was, the other thing that was kind of interesting was he was a very, very good looking guy, obviously mental. The girl was gorge. So he was a really good looking guy. He was obviously mad. And when he messaged me, he said like, he pretended not to be him. So we went, I was there. You were something like you were full of yourself. It was, you were arrogant. Something that like assumed something about me, and it's like, no, I wasn't. The only thing I was a woman on stage. That's the only thing I was that you had like took umbrage with, and you were aggrieved by it. And he was like all over his girlfriend, sitting like you sit on the front row. It is my place of work, albeit for 10 minutes. You sit on my front row like that with your much younger girlfriend. Am I not gonna
that's
like I
fair.
mean like Alex Farrow, who I love and really trust, was like, I think you've entered a social contract when you sit in the front row of a comedy club, notwithstanding.
But the thing is, in that situation, you've also not said anything. You've just said what you've seen. So there's a huge difference. It's not like you're going in hard.
I did it, and it was a question. I didn't say, that's your daughter, right?
Yeah.
I said, is it?
Yeah.
Curious. I was terribly curious. But it was just interesting the way it was. I guess I was a bit shocked about the room not being on my side.
Well, it's interesting. One of the things I find really fascinating about stand-up is how the audience often, when people get kind of an audience, when they become a little better known, those kind of situations happen less. So they get more freedom to kind of relax in their own persona. I mean, the obvious example would be Stuart Lee. Like, Stuart Lee goes on stage at a club that nobody knows who he is. Yeah. Most people start talking after about 10 minutes because it's just like, this guy's a bit too slow. I don't know where he's coming from. He's a bit old. He's a bit... Yeah. But an audience full of people that love him are immediately on board and kind of know the persona.
Yeah.
But like that is definitely an interaction from a Friday, Saturday night where somebody doesn't know who you are. But if you say that to somebody like that's literally bought a ticket to see you, like, they're going to enjoy that.
Selected population, a guy with a 20-year younger girlfriend isn't coming to see me, right? Because he knows. I mean, one girl, which I really liked, messaged me, and I really liked what she said. She said, I'm mixed race, so even though I'm 30, I look 22. And she's like, and my husband's early 50s, but like, looks older. So she's like, we get this constantly. Yeah. And we spoke about it, and she was really lovely. I was like, do you mind if I say what you'd said? And she was like, my husband, he wouldn't have been aggrieved, we would have laughed, it probably would have made on out, but it's like, but the thing is, it happens all the time. And that I will get, that's so boring. Like, every time they go to a restaurant, they're like, wife? Yeah. So she's like, you know, because their age gap was only 15 but looked 25. So I can get being like, oh, every fucking time, come on. So I appreciated that, and I understand that. Yeah, but then you don't want to be like I've been at an audience of, say, someone like Michelle Wolf, where, you know, who you love, and they come out and they say hi, and you're like, because you spent 20 quid on the ticket, and you love them. Also, I wouldn't,
but as long as you're doing the work, the permission just allows, you know, it's right at the beginning and then it fades out. I mean, I think I've often seen people that have a really big crowd there for them, kind of be quiet right at the beginning and kind of let it, you know, the more authentic comedians that just go, and we're letting that pat down.
Like who? I'm trying to think.
Who have I seen do that?
So now I want to look out for that.
I've seen Paul F. Tompkins do it.
Oh, yeah, awesome.
I've seen Marie Bamford. Like, you know, just manage your expectations. She's got a whole bit at the beginning where she's kind of really says... manage your expectations, which is great.
Oh, there is, sorry, I'm now thinking there is a special I've seen. I can't remember who it was. Is it Wonder? It's like a really big American comic just being like, shh. We need to start this. I love that.
But it does, all of this talks as well as to how in the room where you were at the beginning. So right at the beginning, so you're very present in the room. So like, even my thought about you not retrofitting, but putting forward some material straight away that was relevant to in the room, and then talking about kind of you did this bit about women. What was it? I've got the note is women like your mother.
The big thing that's happened to me in the last year is that I fell in love. It ended. I cannot have nice things. And this guy was fit, but much more than that. His thing was being really English and posh. Like, you know, when someone's so English and posh, it's almost like there's something a bit wrong with them. Do you know what I mean? It's like they've been some kind of car crash. And I say that because this guy would pronounce his words wrong. So instead of saying respect, he'd say respect. Instead of saying piss off, he'd say pass off. Instead of saying mummy, he'd say nanny. And I know you might be listening to me going, oh, well, Davina, you're very posh yourself. Correct. But I'm Jewish, so I'm nouveau riche is different. Okay? If you don't know the difference, let me just explain. You get posh Jews like me, tend to be from London, and then you get posh upper-class English men, like the man I fell in love with. This is the difference. Posh, upper-class English men will always have a mum who will drink half a glass of Sancerre, and then she'll go all sort of wiggly, and then she'll look at her oldest. What's your name?
James.
She'll look at her oldest, and she'll be like, oh, JJ, you look like Daddy on his wedding day. Is Mummy still pretty? Awful. And I'm not saying Jewish mums don't flirt with their sons. They absolutely do. They just don't need a sunset to get there. They wouldn't waste the calories.
That was such a good act out. And a question I have, like, there's lots of bits that you have that are very concisely acted out. and like you take on a character, and I'm curious about, because you do loads of sketch work on online as well, which has really taken off. It's like, it's great, and it's really
very
good stuff.
famous. That's right.
Yeah, but it has. I mean, but you've been doing it like consistently. Like I so much kind of respect for the consistency and the quality of keep doing stuff. But how have you felt like working through that? Have you felt like you've gotten better acting out on stage through doing the acting work on camera, or have those been totally separate?
I think I haven't thought about it, except sometimes I will steal from the other, so they must be helping.
Yeah.
So I've got this big long sketch list, which I'm really going to try and work through, but I get like stage fright for putting my stuff out, which you have to just get over. And so at the moment I've got 40 sketches I want to do and haven't put out, which is too many.
Yeah.
It's too many conversation with friends at dinner who aren't comics and being like, oh, I've got a sketch about, it's annoying for everyone.
Yeah.
I just need to fucking get them done. But as I went through the list today, in brackets next to about 3 of them, it was, this is now in my stand-up.
Yeah.
So I didn't remember at all, but that mum with the Sancerre flirting with her sons, which was started by watching Sarah Beanie's show in lockdown. I don't know if you've ever seen it. No. It's beautiful. It's totally tone deaf, but she's just got 4 perfect angel sons, like 2 big boys, 2 little boys, and like beautiful husband. And I've seen it, but you know, you get loads of fun. She'd basically just be like flirting with her sons, and it was just stunning. And I realised, you know, that's a real raw sort of upper class mum thing to do. But then Jewish boys I've dated, it's like, guys, you should get a room with their mums.
Yeah.
So, but I saw in brackets, don't need to do this sketch, is now in stand-up. And there was one other one, I can't remember what it was. Oh, yeah, my Gen Z joke.
I don't have any children that I know of, but because I do stand-up, I've got this like gorgeous new group of girlfriends. I call them my Gen Z babies. They are so sweet. They're all about roughly 24, and I honestly, they have stolen my heart. So I'm going to steal their eggs, and they're very, they're very different to my girlfriends that are my age. They're much more political. They're much more left-wing and activisty. They're all bisexual, but they haven't fucked a girl between them. I'm straight, and I've fucked more girls than all of them put together. So cute. But like I say, so different to my girls that are my age. Probably best described this way. So my Gen Z girls encouraged me to get an outfit that wasn't very me, and I was a bit scared by it. It was these Y2K crocodile print trousers, crochet vest, bucket hat. And I wasn't sure. And then I showed one of my Gen Z girls, she's 24, and she just looked me up and down in the outfit and she went, oh my God, yes, it's giving slay. Ah! She liked it. I thought she was having a seizure. And then I showed my best friend, same outfit. My best friend's a 39-year-old architect. She looked me up and down and she went, you depressed? Is this about you turning 40? And I was like, no, I slay. Ah, every day. Ah.
That was a sketch, which I did do online, and then I was like, why don't I try it on stage? And it worked. But it's what because I'm trying to think about Edinburgh, so it's hard to, and I said I'd decide by tomorrow whether I'm doing character or stand-up.
Rosie Holt, I remember talking to Rosie in the first Edinburgh that she did, where she wasn't sure how she felt about that. I mean, it absolutely worked in terms of sales and everything, but I know that she was conflicted in a similar kind of way. But like, what would be your conflict around doing one or the other? Is it because you want to be seen in a certain way, or
no? It's like, because I think it really is about. I know it's kind of immaterial what I do. The only person that would care is me. It's that what will I enjoy doing for a month? What's the funnest thing for me to do? And I've been a stand-up for years now.
Yeah.
I've done that stand-up loads, and I do stand-up loads, and I love doing the Saturdays and Fridays here and stuff, and the other places I do them. That is so different to an hour, and I wouldn't want to do a dead dad hour. I like things that aren't like, but then I realised that the only partner I needed was myself. No, don't like it. Like, much rather like an hour of like Nikki Glaser. That's my favourite kind of comedy.
Yeah, okay.
An hour of superb stand-up.
Yeah.
With no like, and then I'm just not interested.
Yeah.
So I guess for me it's like, what do you do? Like, and also the kind of comedy I like, the stuff I watch and love. The last show I loved, Katie Norris. Bow and Ball I'm about to see for the second time with taking like 15 people. Like that's what I like. That is not stand-up. That's an hour of a parody of Michael Ball, and that's so different. So it's like, well, why aren't I doing the stuff I like as much as I love stand-up? And again, it's like, it's kind of immaterial what I do. It's just the idea of having to like tick all these boxes is just like, it's also fear, isn't it? Like, I know I'm being defiant, but it's also fear. Like, you do it, you spend a year in it, you spend all this money you don't have, and then you get 3 stars from, or 2 stars from Bennett. Like, I get it, one lives, but that is like people's lives. I've had people be like, I really loved that show and it was my soul, and I got 2.5 stars and
then nobody spoke about it again.
And nobody spoke about it again.
Yeah.
And I've had friends say that, and they're brilliant comics, so I guess you just kind of have to...
So is there part of it just kind of like, what are you going to choose to put your soul on the line for? If you know, and what are you happy to put? Which are you happy to put your soul on? Is it? There's a little bit of an element of... you've got a lot of versatility, so suddenly, you know, you can do both things, you can do more than those things, but that's the curse of going, oh, I can do both, but actually I've got to plump for one thing. So it closes down options.
Totally. And then once that option's open, the other thing is is length. Like, I very happily do 10s and I do 20s as a stand-up. I don't do like, I did a 45 a few years ago at Edinburgh. I don't have, and I don't know how to do, and I've spoken to Dec Monroe of this institution, who I love, and he's always brilliant with this stuff. Like, I'm always like, would you like, and when we talk about Edinburgh stuff, he's like, you don't look that, whenever we mention stand-up doing an hour, I must be rolling my eyes, because he's like, well, you don't look that up for it, but then when you talk about character stuff, you seem much more up for it. So maybe let's focus on that. But it's also like, because I didn't like Rosie, I didn't go to drama school, and I never studied theatre, and I do every fucking course, but I don't know how to make an hour. Like, I was watching a podcast with Rosalie, you know, the Clementine girl. Yeah. I think she's really cool, and she was saying, I wrote a 2-hour show and I cut it down. And I was like, oh, do you literally sit down with a pen and paper? Like, is that how you write an hour show? Yeah. Okay, because I normally write sketches, and then sometimes I improvise stuff. But like an hour, okay, so do I sit down over the next month and write? Like, it's just it's a different skill set, I think. Yeah. And I just gotta, but also I'm being a pussy, I just need to fucking do it.
And it's interesting hearing you talk about it, because like, there are bits in your set tonight which kind of flow seamlessly from kind of a sketchy scene to some stand-up and some commentary on that scene, and then the scene. Like that, it feels like those two things come kind of, you know, very kind of meshed in the way that you perform quite naturally. So like, it's interesting from my perspective hearing you make that feel like you've got to be more binary about it. And I know you do have to be.
You're saying you think it not necessarily has to be, like, it could sort of be a bit of both.
But I think that's what you do naturally. Like, so like on stage, I think you do both naturally. Like you flow into character. So
that's very kind of you to say. I'm just thinking about, I know a lot of people don't like, but I do Isla. I can never say her name. Schlesinger.
I don't know.
She's American. Yeah, I'm definitely saying her name wrong. Okay. She's a real like hour special. Yeah. Her act outs are wild. They are so vivid. I'm assuming she comes from like an acting background. She like will play like. She played at the end of one of her specials 2 girls on Shark Tank, so Dragon's Den. Yeah. And she starts from the presentation and without break plays 2 sisters having a breakdown until they're both like crying and screaming. And then she says, and then the sister says, she just does it. Yeah. And it's like, oh my God, I feel like I've literally just watched a whole episode of Shark Tank. It's so good. If I could somehow do that with like these big act outs, I guess, I have a bit, it's also like, I'm just not a theatre person. Yeah. So, you know, there's loads of stand-ups who are brilliant from a more like theatrical point of view, but I'm not, that's not me being like, you know,
one of the things,
jokes.
But one of the things I quite think, I think is instructive even about like seeing what you were doing tonight and then your self-analysis of that is like, I think, talking to loads of comedians, and I know that you'll know this as well, but the amount of imposter syndrome in doing something well, it's like anyone that does something well doesn't think they do that thing well. like, you know, unless you're you know, at the very, very top, like part of it is baked in of like, oh, I'm not as good as that, I need to
or that bit was shit. It's like, well, it was like, the other you know, the 49 minutes were perfect. You're focusing on,
it's almost like
one dodgy minute.
Like you get one moment of, like when you did the new bit tonight, you get one moment you're like, that's great, but then the next time you do it, it'll be kind of, oh well, that needs to be tweaked, or, you know, so it's almost like we get one shot at it feeling good.
It's that negative bias thing of like, I think, you know, I read in a book once, it was like, some people feel the vicissitudes and hardness of life more. So some people will need 10 positive comments for every one. Other people only need 3 to 1. Yeah. Like some people are sensitive to flowers, whether it's ADHD or rejection sensitive dysphoria. And as I read that in the book, which I didn't read, I audiobooked, I was like, yeah, man, I'm a 10 to 1. Because I'm not going for the like... I remember a conversation with my boss where I was like, you didn't say it was a good witness statement. She was like, yes, I did. She was like, yes, I did. But it had just gone out. I'd only remembered like the bit that needed restructuring. So but I do remember, actually, aside from that, I will remember like it was a lovely gig and they were really nice, and I'm trying to like clock that more.
I can really relate to that, and I also wonder about like how much have you thought about performance in that sense, because performance is very high stakes for that kind of sensitivity. Like I also have that sensitivity, and therefore, you know, if I put my heart and soul into something and get 2 stars, like I got a review in 2014 that stopped me taking a show to Edinburgh for 2 years. Like like a really, you know, which sounds ridiculous to anyone stable.
No, but it doesn't. I got 3 honks in Hong Kong. Have you seen that sketch, that Stevie Martin sketch? It's like my favourite. Yeah. Rosie and I just watched it on loop. I got 3 honks in Hong Kong. I don't want to talk about it. Like, it's very funny, but equally, I've got friends who did get 3 honks and were like fucked up for a period of time about it. And I know that sounds mad. When other friends of mine make buildings, etc. But like, it is a fucking big deal, and that would stop me. Maybe forever, more than 2 years, I don't know, like, and I know you've got to have the kind of Tim Minchin 1 star in The Guardian attitude, but fucking hell, that's like, that must be really hard. And it's
and coming up, like, knowing other comedians that have done the hour, like, and you know that's coming, like, so that's also part of the inertia, I think. I expect.
Totally.
Like, I mean, it's inertia if you've done it before loads of times, because there's a shit sandwich that's coming and I'm going to have to eat that shit sandwich, and some people digest shit better than others.
And it might also be an open, you know, they do open sandwiches now. So you don't even get 2 slices of nice white bread. You just get 1.
And it's mashed in.
It's mashed in. So actually if you're no carb, it's just the shit. So you just... But also I'm learning about the bounce back. Like I had a rejection, because what I really want to do, if I could like dream world it, not that you've asked, but like I have low self-esteem for daydreams, I've realised, which I definitely should talk about on stage. A comic said to me, what's your live at the Apollo walk-on music in your head? I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Why would you imagine that? Like, you're so arrogant. She was like, no, this is my music. And I was like, that's not my daydreams. But I sounded very judgy. But if I really did think, what do I want to do? I want to write long form stuff. And I had a rejection recently. You mean long form as an hour long? No, sorry, I want to write scripts. I want to write long form stuff for television. That would be like, that's what I'd like to do. And I got a rejection on something that I thought was going to get optioned, and it didn't. And a much older, like, brilliant comic writer was just like, he was like, okay, so you can have like the weekend to be upset, and then like you're not allowed any longer because like he was like, you're not young enough. He's right. To like have a strop over this, because you need to be writing the next treatment, which was right, but I did, and it is better. But he was right. Like I did. Maybe if I was 25, I would have time to be like, so, but it's not so unfair, and I just needed to write something better, and maybe something will happen with the old one. But I'm trying to learn that from stand-up as well. The solidarity of having somebody in your corner that's been through it is very functional as well. Like you talk about this on stage as well, but you sound like you have a good network. Like you do a lot of work on online on sketches with other people as well. Like you're quite good at bringing other people in that are supportive energies, and also kind of not, you know, everyone mentors each other, but mentoring emotionally or mentoring like in other ways. Like, is that something that you do consciously, or is that something that you kind of, it's more of a habit, or kind of happens unconsciously? I think I've had 2 proper mentors in like conscious, formal ways, which was brilliant. And then with the Friends stuff, comics, say Rosie's a good example. She like did a big competition the year ahead of me, and lots of other things. And she has lots of things that I can't do. Like she's an actor and I'm not. So it's always really helpful because she's done like having a friend who'd like been in big theatre, been at the National at 19.
Yeah.
So they'd done all of these things.
Yeah.
That's really helpful. And also other like comics who've also been actors at 20 and been signed to the big agent, then dropped.
Yeah.
All of that expertise, all of that knowledge is really helpful.
Yeah. If you can see it, you can be it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's also things like this is what happens as a cycle.
Yeah.
You may not like all of that wisdom of I thought I'd made it. I was 90 hours and then but then I did something else and I was really good at that.
Yeah.
All of that stuff is really helpful, but I wasn't seeking it. I think I've just got smart friends.
There's a moment where you say this is what one of the things, a personality line. I'll tell you. Do you know that line? Like you kind of bring something up. I think when it was just after JJ's Mum is Still Pretty, and then you started a new bit of material.
Yeah.
Like and just said, I'll tell you.
Yeah, it was because I was deciding whether or not to do one thing or the other, and I was making myself laugh in my head.
Good. Okay, I'll tell you this. That's still quite new. So there's loads of people who aren't from London here. I assume loads of people. You're one of you's from Greece, mainland.
Yeah.
Yes. You said it like I would not be from an island, madam. So, you may disagree with this. A lot of people say, oh, Davina. You wouldn't say Davina because you've only just let my name, but a lot of people say the essence of Englishness is that English people are obsessed with politeness. I don't think that's quite right. I think the essence of Englishness is that we are obsessed with politeness to the extent that if someone is impolite, we are allowed to be disgusting, okay? And I realised that when I was upstairs on the bus going home to Peckham. I'm just like you, I'm not a meter bus, it's park after. And I'm upstairs on the bus, and I could hear this really horrible row going on downstairs. And there was a guy, and he sounded really hurt. And I heard him shout at this woman. He said, you pushed past me with all your shopping, and you didn't say please, and you didn't say excuse me. That is so rude. You fat fucking cunt. But I love that. It's wonderful. Because to me, that shows two things can be true, and I think that's amazing. So I was kind of laughing, like, how ridiculous is that man? And then I realised I'm exactly the same. Sorry, my voice has gone high now because I'm scared of you. Don't be silly chaps. No, but I realised I'm exactly the same because the next day I was driving in my car and I'm just like the guy on the bus because when I drive in my car and I let someone go, if they don't thank me, and when I say thank me, I mean at least this. If I don't get at least that, but when I don't get that, I will literally be like, I hope you fucking burn. Like, I hope that the coffin, like, I hope your cremation is within your car. Like, there was a story in Alaska years ago, there was like a mining accident and the folk songs were written afterwards. And one of the lines of the folk songs is, for all their lives, they dug their own grave. That is how I feel about somebody who drives past me in a car without saying thank you. I'm like, I hope your vehicle becomes your coffin, sir. Again, when the ending is sharp, you'll die with that.
But also I do like, I guess it's not non sequiturs, but I used to have a thing of, I'd say like, for why? Or it's a slightly like Tina Fey or even Chandler Bing, like, for why? For that.
Yeah.
Who?
But there were like 3, maybe 4 moments of lovely transition where you committed to, like with the I Tell You, sassily committed to a throwaway line.
Yeah.
Which is kind of stylistically absolutely goes with your persona on stage, but also it's funny because in person you don't do it as much as you would on stage. No. But there's a joy to doing it on stage because it's a bit more performative, or kind of you can throw away things. I don't know if you've noticed.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think when I'm like when Dec Monroe helps me with like directing stuff, I do more of that style and I really like it. But I think it's when I'm feeling like very funny and very comfortable.
Yeah.
Then it's maybe a slight persona thing of like, it's like a voice, isn't it? That sort of like And I suppose Peckham, I'm just like you. No, I'm not. And I know it's so awful. I got a review. The first time I got reviewed, it was 5 minutes for a Leicester Square final. And an external voice I did was criticised. So I've always been very cautious about doing external voices, which is fucking absurd. But I do, thank you for saying that. That's very kind. I like that voice, and I probably will try and like harness that more. And then as I try and do that, it'll never happen again. But I do like fun turns of phrase that like that.
Which pour out of you very easily, like they do. I mean, but it's interesting. Like a friend of mine, who was I talking to? Carl Kinane was here this week, and Carl Kinane and Sean Patton, the two comedians, both US comedians, who commit to a bit just without blinking, and those phrases are commitment to. Like it's funny because just the commitment sometimes to an absurd
thing
phrase
is enough.
Is so enjoyable for everyone because people don't. There's something cathartic as well, seeing somebody commit 100% to something, even if you don't buy in 100% to the conceit.
Yeah, man. Also, if it's like I mean, because you got clever, like the bit say Lucas just did, really clever. The ick with the caveman, the ick with the stick. Like, but that bit's clever, so it's already kind of doing its own work. But if you are doubling down on the commitment. Is it balls? It's like basically you have to. You've got no choice. Whether it's like the mum flirting with the son, or you kind of have to. I think because also like my favourite comics, or I was just thinking like even though it didn't suit him, and he's been like Louis C.K. Despite how he looked like a schlubby dad, his act outs were the best act outs. They were like fucking Oscar worthy. Like the head, walking at the dicks everywhere. Ironic, retrospectively, but like that was so well acted. So
it's almost like he'd seen it.
It's almost like they were all his people, but they were at his daughter's head, so it's even worse. But like you have to, because you're doing a fucking bit. Like if you're doing an act out. Like sometimes when I don't physically move enough, I kind of feel bad after. Like when I do the stoning my heart, stealing my eggs. I'm like, come on, you lazy bitch, move a bit more. Like, like I love when people are physical on stage. So,
and I noticed that. I noticed how much you were moving on stage as well. There was a lot of mobility.
Yeah, I
like kind of moving around, a lot of energy. Like but again, coming on stage with that commitment, with that energy.
I just learned
something that you've already done, always done. Sorry,
it isn't.
No.
So I did a course. I love courses. All my friends say I do too many courses. I would disagree, but there's a director called Amanda Baker, and she works with Abby Grant. And one of the many brilliant things they say, and I always think about it, is like the moment that Sergey, we'll never know. The moment that he says welcome to stage Davina and people start to look, which they do, or Tom or whoever's coming to stage, that is the point which you're on stage. It's not when your feet reach. I wish I'd have known that. I wish I'd have known that like fucking years ago. And that when the music is like, do not run up to music. I used to run up like, thank you so much for having me. Such people pleaser. Like, please don't start without me. Like, no, you fucking wait for me. Because I've got this and I'm a comic and you will wait. Like, not a dickhead. But like it started because they're already looking at you. So like the show has to begin. That's like so important. And I didn't like, please, thank you.
There's so much language of other, like you watch a lot of stand-up. So you watch a lot of there's a lot of references to other people's kind of on stage vernacular, and you train a lot with stand-up, with stage. And how like when you talk about maybe doing sketch on at Edinburgh, maybe doing stand-up, wanting to be a writer of longer form for healthier reasons, or that's what you'd like to end up doing, but how do you kind of keep a balance of writing those things? Like obviously ADHD wise, I suffer from always having too many projects and just trying to push all of them at once and not being able to regulate how much time I'm doing that. So that might be a similar thing, I don't know. But because you're always making sketches, because you're always got heads in lots of different places, do you have to have a routine? Do you have to regulate kind of what you're working on at any given time, or is it just all areas, all times?
Well, I think the hyperfocus kind of chooses for you. So that's one thing. So like say, and also emotional stuff like maybe a few years ago, I wouldn't have let my sketch list get to 40. There shouldn't be 40 things I want to make that I haven't. It's gotten there because I felt unconfident with how I look, so I'm not filming them. I've been lawyering for ages, so no time.
So this is survival, financial survival.
Yeah,
stuff.
like I have to, you have to live. So also that there's just that balance. And I do think you'll do something you want to do, but also if I'm writing like a treatment and I really want to sell a treatment and I really want to get something optioned, then the sketches go on the back burner.
Yeah.
But also I don't like being told what to do is another problem that I've realised recently, because when I start to get paid for work, which I love, so nice to be paid to write a sketch, I can be a little bit defiant of like, no, I want to do it like this. And obviously if it's like a marketing or ad campaign, you know, there has to be a fucking compromise. And
do you have that on your, because your Instagram's like it's big, like do you have people coming to you and kind of like saying, could you do this for this amount? Like, do you mind saying what kind of stuff? I'm just curious.
Like I do ads, which I've enjoyed, but when I did ads, I didn't have an agent mostly, and now I have a lovely agent who looks after me. And just things you only learn by experience. Like once I did an ad with someone and we were on draft 6. And I was like, this is madness. I've never done 6 drafts of anything. But the redrafts were all because they wanted, you know, they're commercial. They want to put the product in. And I just wish, you know, you only learn by doing. But now I'd be like, no, 2 drafts max. And I'm not saying, you know, the product. Every time I say the product, or you want me to do X, you want me to do Y, you're actually making it less funny. And so that stuff, that push and pull is...
Of knowing the subtleness of that and actually owning... through experience, you can say that and you can push back.
And also when like marketing people start writing jokes in your script, which is what happened. I was, you know, it would never happen, and it just kind of made me cross, because it was like, you guys can do this, but don't instruct me to do it, because you hired me because I'm a comedian, so let me write a comedy sketch. And also the first 5 seconds is really important if they you know, all of these things. So that's tricky, but it's nice having... Like now I have like little rules. Like I'd only advertise something that I believe in. I wouldn't advertise for certain products. I would, please God, I hope I don't row back on this. I would never do. There's certain things I don't believe in. I'm not like particularly, you know, I hope I'd have the same. No, I don't want to say it. No, I wouldn't. I don't believe in gambling adverts. I don't believe that gambling should be advertised. I don't. But you know, so I would really hope that if a gambling advert ever offered me anything, I would say no. Let's see.
One thing, like, so there was a moment where you're talking about the politeness on stage.
So there's loads of people who aren't from London here. I assume loads of people. You're one of you's from Greece, mainland. Yes. You said it like I would not be from an island, madam. So. You may disagree with this. A lot of people say, oh, Davina. You wouldn't say Davina because you've only just learnt my name, but a lot of people say the essence of Englishness is that English people are obsessed with politeness. I don't think that's quite right. I think the essence of Englishness is that we are obsessed with politeness to the extent that if someone is impolite, we are allowed to be disgusting. Okay? And I realised that when I was upstairs on the bus going home to Peckham. I'm just like you, I'm not a meter bus, I park after. And I'm upstairs on the bus, and I could hear this really horrible row going on downstairs. And there was a guy, and he sounded really hurt. And I heard him shout at this woman. He said, you pushed past me with all your shopping, and you didn't say please, and you didn't say excuse me. That is so rude. You fat fucking cunt. But I love that. It's wonderful. Because to me, that shows two things can be true, and I think that's amazing. So I was kind of laughing, like, how ridiculous is that man? And then I realised I'm exactly the same. Sorry, my voice has gone high now because I'm scared of you. Don't be silly chaps. No, but I realised I'm exactly the same, because the next day I was driving in my car, and I'm just like the guy on the bus, because when I drive in my car and I let someone go, if they don't thank me, and I mean, when I say thank me, I mean at least this. If I don't get at least that, but when I don't get that, I will literally be like, I hope you fucking burn. Like, I hope that the coffin, like, I hope your cremation is within your car. Like, there was a story in Alaska years ago, there was like a mining accident, and the folk songs were written afterwards, and one of the lines of the folk songs is, for all their lives they dug their own grave. That is how I feel about somebody who drives past me in a car without saying thank you. I'm like, I hope your vehicle becomes your coffin, sir. Again, when the ending is sharp, you'll die with that.
It's one of the things that, as we're talking now, is how immoderate you are on stage, or how you
like
channel disproportionately immoderate on stage, whereas how moderate you are off stage. Like, and so just, is there some also like a joy of like, you know, that bit of about the politeness, and then if somebody cuts you up, do you also, is that kind of like a joyful thing to perform as well, because you kind of, because there's quite a few bits bits where there's a catharsis, you kind of get to say the unsayable in because there's permission to on stage, whereas in interpersonal ways there's not really permission unless you're a really, really good friend who kind of really can, you know, you can trust the space. I think, but is there that part of stand-up?
No, because I think my family is so mental, or maybe all the stand-ups I know were all so like, you won't fucking believe the thing. We're all so sort of Larry David, and I was thinking about this recently because there's like attributes, you know, the comedian Robbie Hoffman. Yeah. So the way she is reminds me a lot of lots of people in my family. She was raised Hasidic, we weren't, but just all like 100% Jewish, very different way of moving through the world, in my view, from like English people, especially upper class English people. And watching her, I was like, oh, I relate to everything she says. I understand every word out of her mouth. The one difference is that I speak with the accent my parents paid for. Yeah. But my parents don't speak, like my dad spoke the East London version of her. Like my dad's friends, who are like professors. One of my father's best friends was at Harvard with my father. He speaks like this. He speaks like Robbie Hoffman. Yeah. So I think there's an interesting thing of like, it feels weirder when I say, I will murder you. Like the bit with like, I hope you burn within it. The car is now the funeral part, it's the cremation vehicle. But it feels weirder, or people expect it less because they will want... Like there was a Robbie Hoffman line recently, which kind of blew my mind, was like, she was like, someone interrupted me, and she's like, interrupted you, I had shit to say. Yeah. And like in my family, we all have ADHD, and we're all, you know, the way I am. So there is no like, excuse me, sorry, please finish. And when men do that to me, I'm like, sorry, excuse me, I didn't let you finish the thing you were saying. I'm like, what is happening? This is madness. So I think that catharsis, I don't even need it so much on stage, because most of my friends are comics. Yeah. So like, Freya left me like a voice note, which was fucking hilarious, about an actor. And I was like, this is so funny. This is a rant. Like, I don't want to say who it was because it was hilarious. But like, you know, like messaging your friend to be like, this actor did this thing on Graham Norton. And I'm so cross, and being like, oh my God, that is ridiculous. Like, I'm incensed. The disproportionate reaction maybe is the thing that probably means you should be a stand-up. Which is also that you get to just say the unsayable with the other comedians. Like, and we're all right. We're all like... So you're not that abnormal. And it isn't, to be honest, it isn't abnormal for me. In a way, I'm just thinking like the guy on the bus. You know, Yeah. 'Cause I'm not keeping that stuff in that well. And it's, which comes back around to where we started as well, about persona and finding the right way to say that on stage. I think this is a great line. I don't know if you used it before, with the accent that your parents paid for. But that if you sound like that, you could get away with a whole lot more. Totally. You know, than you can. So finding a way to be able to say your thoughts in a palatable way. It's almost like it almost needs an act out. It almost needs that kind of like getting into a different character entirely. Yeah, like if I could do the voice of my... I mean, it is like... I suppose Nicole's actually not got it because it's more East London. It's like the very Jewishy accent of like, say, my auntie speak like this, Auntie Roberta, and my granny spoke, she had like slightly old-fashioned Cockney accent. And I did always think, and I think this now, there's something, I wonder what my grandma thought when she had this like beautiful East London accent. She like spoke like that. She's from Clapton. She's like, oh, Davina. What did she think when my sister and I turned up with our paid for accents? Was she like, this is a madness?
Yeah.
Was she like, what are they talking about? But then equally, I look at my nieces with their ridiculously like they sound like fucking royal family. Yeah. And I'm like, you sound mental. So it seems to just keep going, but there has to be a point where we'll go back round, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's happened because no one can afford private school anymore. But like, there's definitely, I was thinking about that, like, I saw a clip of online, someone did a brilliant sketch that I think they were fluent in Arabic, but they're American. So they did,
wow.
Did you see it? It was superb. It was like taking things that your Arabic mum says. So the sentences like, my friend once said to me in English, she was going to give me her pajamas. I was like, those are the most beautiful pajamas I've ever seen. She was like, take them, have them. I want you to have them. I was like, no, I'm not taking your pajamas. Your mum just bought them. She's like, if you don't take them, I will set fire to them. But that was a translation, I think, from Arabic. So this girl did a mum and it was like Ohio mum saying things in Arabic, mum says. So she's got the like Midwest accent, I guess. But she's saying things like, if you don't take the pajamas, I will set fire to them. And like, if I could do that, it's less extreme with like a Jewishy accent. Maybe. Sorry, that was such a diatribe. But there's something in it.
But that is also
might
what
be more
you're,
palatable.
you know. But yeah. But there is that in your set, in your stuff. I think, like just to close finally, is the like on the final bit is doing new on stage, like as you did today. How was the experience of talking about that? Like, so that first bit we've spoken about, that
the
worked,
hype bit, yeah.
And then the medieval.
Okay, I'm gonna try a new thing. So I really am like, I'm obsessed with the medieval period. I think it's so interesting. Any other medieval heads in? Woo, yes, okay, it's a great period. I just think it's so interesting, like politically, historically. Also, I like the outfits, and I love the Reformation, like. Not just the theological period, but also the dress company. And you laughed, you got it. But yeah, I think it's an amazing period. And I think you guys might be like, no, Davina, you seem really resilient and chill. But if I'm honest, I don't think I would have done very well in the medieval period. And that occurred to me when I went to see an exhibition called The Medieval Period in Women. I went to that exhibition. And I was so excited, I went with my best friend, we go, it's been like solid for weeks, and I turn up, and I say to the guy, where's the exhibition? It's meant to be here at the British Library. He went, no, you've missed it, it's ended. And I was so upset that I started crying, because I love women, and I love the medieval period, and I couldn't even make it to the fucking exhibition. Like, okay, I've got to have a better thing for this, but there's something there that's very funny and we'd all laugh. Like, if we were here in a week, the punchline on the end of that is just like, it's like a joust or something. That's not actually medieval. Anyway,
I just backed out.
Yeah.
I tried halfway through, I just backed out the door.
What part did you back out?
All of it. I think. So I knew there was something in it, but I backed out. I didn't really do it. I'm proud that I'm pleased with myself that I tried. I think there's something in it, but I backed out. It was basically trying to reenact the conversation with my friend of when I didn't burst into tears in real life, but I was really upset. I was cross at myself. I kind of spiraled. I was like, you can't even make it to an exhibition, Davina. It's an exhibition on your two favourite things. And you didn't even make it. It was on for weeks. And then as we're talking about this, my friend like, it's fine. It'll probably come back. We are reading it. I was like, be honest. If we're in the medieval period when like you couldn't drink water and you'd have to drink beer or you're poisoned and you have to travel for the water and everything was a fight to survive, do you think I would live? And my friend did do a yeah, fine. So it's like, no, fine, you think I'd die, and I think that.
Yeah.
But how would that work? I just kind of wanted to bring it to that quicker, that like I knew that I wouldn't live in the medieval period and I would die because I can't even make it to the fucking exhibition now.
Yeah.
I just need to, I need to work out what the joke was, but I backed out. I pussied out.
Well, I'll also note though that both those bits landed so well in the way that you came out of it. Both of those bits, you got a huge laugh in the way that you came out, because you seemed to be enjoying. You were fine about it. You backed out, but you were totally fine.
I was fine with it.
You know,
because they were so nice. That was why, and also because I I only do new bits if I have enough grace.
Yeah, and there was no shame. There was no shame in doing that, and also your enjoyment of the subject. Like even right now, talking about the medieval bit, you know, like you're doing it slightly differently here.
Yeah.
But there is, you know, there's an enjoyment in it because it's real and it's live, and you kind of want to talk about it. It's
totally.
Kind of
it's like, it's also exciting because it's new, and it's like, as you say, it's a new occurrence in my head. I'll find the funny. Also, it was the thing of, as I say, I'm a real coward. I don't start with new, but I feel like I'd given them enough laughs. I feel like I'd earned my money enough that, you know, we're doing 10. I'm going to sneak in the medieval. Let's say height was 30 seconds, medieval was a couple of minutes. And it's that thing that I think Amanda and Abby taught me of like, you need some jeopardy in the room. Because also I do old stuff too much, and I know you have to be so wary about it coming out like dust.
Yeah.
So if you're not throwing out, if I'm not throwing out new stuff, then I'm kind of fucked.
Yeah.
So I had to do height and medieval today. And the fact they even have names shows me that there'll be little wibbly, you know, new little babies trying to walk, sort of toddling around, maybe falling over.
But that's brilliant. Thank you so much for coming on. If people want to find you, what would be your preference? Because there are lots of different ways people could find you. But like, is it just... It's
about to do such a hack joke, like not in person. But please find me on Instagram, where I'm Davina Bentley Comedy. And also TikTok, actually, because I would like more TikTok followers, and I think we should really support this Chinese regime. They just have enough support.
You know, they don't. You know, they've got a lot of challenges.
Got a lot of challenges, and I've had enough of the haters and the naysayers. So I think we really need to get behind TikTok. But that aside, please do follow me on TikTok. Yeah. Thank you for having me. It's great. This has been like therapy, which I know is exactly what you wanted.
I've been Davina Bentley. You've been lovely. Please follow me on the internet and welcome back to
That was great, but you know, you need therapy.